Good morning. Today I find myself in kind of an interesting situation. As you know, I have this survival shelter that I often double up as a tree stand for hunting. And I realized I have plenty of firewood, but I have no fire starter. So you can see, if you remember in my last episodes, I'm going to switch the camera around here and I'll show you I have some split wood here. So having fuel isn't a problem. Here, check it out. Okay, so there's my fuel. There's my wood that I have prepared in the shelter. And then I have some smaller ones that I've split up into pieces. But I am out of birch bark. I have no way to ignite it. So, here's what we're going to do to get this fire started. We're going to take one of these small pieces. We're going to take our knife and we're going to split it in half the long ways. Okay, once we have it split in half, we're going to do what's called make a feather stick. And I've watched a lot of survivalists do this, and they'll go nuts and they'll just take real light shavings and just keep whittling the living heck out of it. And that's good, but you don't always have to be so particular about how long these feathers are that you're shaving off. And what they mean by feathers is right there. You can see we're just going to shave some pieces of wood off like that. Right now it's about 10 degrees out. My fingers are completely frozen. So I don't want to waste any time, but yet I want to make sure I get enough of these little buggers on here that the fire has something to grab on. And so we'll make a few of these. I'll break it off and just keep repeating the process on these smaller pieces of wood. If you don't have split wood already like what I have, you can do this with dead tree branches that you find out in the woods. Anything, as long as it's dry. And you can see I'm not making those feathers real big or real long. If you have the time to make them longer and lighter shaved, obviously that's going to light up a lot easier. So I'm just going to continue to do this. I'm not going to bore you with seeing that. And the other thing is, I always carry a lighter with me. And this morning I almost screwed up. You can leave a lighter in your survival shelter, but when it gets really cold, this isn't going to do you any good. It won't light. I can't tell you the science behind it. I just know it won't work. So instead of just leaving a lighter in your survival shelter, make sure you keep it on your person, and then you're also going to want to keep it in a pocket to keep it warm so that the fuel and everything will ignite. And yeah, let's go from there. So I'm going to whittle up some more sticks, and we'll see if we can't get a fire started without having anything more than this. Okay, you can see this morning I woke up and it was 15 degrees in here with my body heat. Let's see if we can get this fire started now. It is 7:30. So let's start up this fire and we'll see how quick we can get the cabin or the survival shelter warmed up. Okay, I hope this works. I've got my flashlight shining on here, so if my hands appear real bright, that's why. I'm going to take these feather sticks that I made and I'm just going to stack them up inside here, one on top of another. Can you see it there? There you go. And then we're just going to take light kindling and just kind of stack it up. Alright, let's see what we can do here. And then when she starts to take off, and we get some of these little boogers taken off, then we can start with a little bit bigger. Ooh, that's hot. I didn't think it'd take off that fast. Oh, that fell off. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna close the door because I don't want to get smoked out here. But you can see how fast that took off. I'm looking at the screen right now, it's 1 minute and 42 seconds it took to get this fire started. And I did it again with no kindling and no birch bark. And just took those pieces of wood and just broke them down into smaller units. And as you can see, we got, let me see if I can get the camera in there. We got a pretty darn good flame going on in there right now. So, okay, let's start feeding it a little bit bigger wood, see what happens. Okay, fire's lit, and you can see, let's tune the camera in. We already went up 5 degrees. This is literally 30 seconds later, and the heat is just pouring off the stove right now. It's not going to take very long to heat this up. I'm going to keep my timer going, and let's see how long it takes to get this warmed up to a comfortable temperature. Okay, it's been 5 minutes since the last time I had the video on, and you can see the thermostat right now. We are at about 330 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat is coming up quickly. The reason I like starting my fires with all natural fuel, if you will, wood and birch bark or whatever, is I could take the easy way out and start this off with paper. But when I'm out here in the woods, especially in a survival mode where right now I'm hunting for my food, the deer that I shoot this year will serve as my meat supply. I don't want there to be foreign smells in the woods. Burning wood is something they smell up here all the time, but when you start dumping your paper and your trash in a wood burner, I think that sometimes gives off a little bit different smell, and you can actually do yourself harm by doing that. And like I mentioned earlier, I can't remember if it's in this video or my last video, but the smell of the burning wood does not affect the deer at all. I've been hunting now for, I think this is going to be my 4th or 5th day in this shelter, and I've got little guys walking around me like crazy. I had a couple bigger deer, but I'm kind of selective in what I take. I'm going to be looking for the older bucks, and I harvest the older bucks because, you know, nature's kind of nasty. Once these animals start aging, the predators take over, and when the predators start culling the herd, it's not a pretty thing. You know, in Walt Disney movies, you look at this cute little scene of once a deer get old, they go off to a pretty little deer cemetery and lay their head down on a fluffy rock and just gently pass into the night. But that isn't reality. The reality is when these wolves, bear or bobcat, and even coyotes get in on a sicker, older animal, they're just savages. They just tear it apart. And I think it's much more humane to be able to quickly dispatch that animal with a clean place shot, whether it be by an arrow or whether it be by a bullet. And this week I'm hunting black powder. I'm going back to some of the more traditional ways. I've got my talents kind of zeroed in to where I can go out and just about take anything with a rifle. But when you take a black powder or archery, there's a little bit of skill that's involved. So I'm going to shut up, and I think the rest of this video, I'm just going to give you some scenery and what it looks like up here. Maybe we'll get some shots of some deer walking through, and if we get a little time, maybe I'll even take you to some of my other little survival shelters and show you what we have. This one obviously I made myself. I've got another one here on the property that I made myself, and then we've got one that's store-bought, and that store-bought one, it's all right. That's actually my father's, but it's a little too plush and a little too cushy for me. So I like to be self-reliant and make my things by hand, and I take a little bit of pride in that. So I got a little long-winded there. So it's been 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes that's gone by now. And when we look at the temperature in here, we're right at 40 degrees. So you can see she's warming up pretty quick, and it's getting pretty toasty in here. So I'm gonna shut up and sit down, and we'll start watching for some deer and see what the day brings us. That light is killing me. Time for breakfast. We got eggs and sausage this morning. In case if any of you were wondering, while breakfast is cooking, we're up to 50 degrees. This stove has only been on for 15 minutes. So, boy, I am grateful I put this thing in here. It burns really efficiently. I can cook my breakfast off of it. And right now I'm stripping down. You can tell I have my blaze orange hung up on a hook by the window so people can see I'm in here. And it's starting to get toasty. Man, it's gonna be a beautiful day. It doesn't get any better than this. This is kind of cool. Look who came to visit me. It's the symbol of American freedom, the bald eagle.